When Sir Lewis's transfer was announced at the beginning of last season, we started publishing videos detailing the harmful impact that it would have on Mercedes F1, including loss of reputation, prestige, sponsors, sponsorship revenue, and social media engagement, to name but a few. Just over 2 months ago, we also predicted that consequently, the other two partners will force Toto Wolff to step down as team principal. Well, lo and behold, it has been reported that one of the partners has issued a statement about their Mercedes shareholding as they are reviewing their portfolio. Now, why would that be? But, before going into why this is the beginning of the end for Toto and possibly Mercedes F1, we would like to urge those of you who haven't yet done so, to sign our online petition for an inquiry into the BBC and Channel 4's coverage of what happened in Abu Dhabi. A link has been provided in the description. If you are on X, then please repost our tweet. Thank you. INEOS, a 1/3 owner of Mercedes F1, is a global chemical company, comprising of 30 businesses in 32 countries, including consumer brands and sports interests. It is the only non-founding member of the triumvirate, and therefore most likely to check out should things become dicey. Mercedes-Benz, as the engine supplier to its subsidiary and half of the F1 grid, cannot really check out of Mercedes F1 without checking out of F1. Toto Wolff has no other interests to speak of, and he will have to step down as team principal to protect his shareholding. The figures are dire for Mercedes F1 and the parent company, as we have highlighted previously, so it was always inevitable that INEOS would be the first to look for an exit. The fact that the media are reporting that INEOS is not looking to exit Mercedes as it carries out a review of its sports portfolio says it all. It is a clear sign that this is something that is highly plausible in the current climate and therefore needed to be denied. But, the claims that the Mercedes shareholding will not be affected by the review are as reliable as those that Marcy was entitled to rig the Abu Dhabi finale. As Toto and any football supporter knows, when the media start reporting that they understand that the manager's job is secure, that is when you know that it isn't. INEOS have a wide-ranging sports portfolio, so why is Mercedes F1 the only one that is reportedly excluded or guaranteed? As previously mentioned, we have done several videos on why Mercedes F1 is at risk, but in this video, we will focus on the report by the Toto-friendly Planet F1. To recall, Planet F1 is one of Toto and Mercedes F1's preferred partner for spreading damaging falsehoods about Sir Lewis, so we are not surprised at their attempts to protect Toto's interest by suggesting that the INEOS stake is not at stake. Apart from the understanding that they appear to have from unnamed sources, like the ones that spread damaging falsehoods about the GOAT, Planet F1 are suggesting that the INEOS stake is not at stake because it has risen significantly from when Sir Jim acquired it. OMFG. This is what we have been talking about forever. When people get used to chatting rubbish for as long as they have been doing about Sir Lewis, they lose themselves and start to believe they're rubbish. Planet F1 are so desperate to carry water for Toto, that they would suggest that because a billionaire's investment has increased tenfold, for illustration purposes, he or she would then fold their arms and watch that investment plummet. Yeah, good one Planet F1. But here's the thing, it is not as if Planet F1 can dissuade Sir Jim from selling, so why bother? Well, this is what happens when panic sets in. Ironically, the trigger for Planet F1's article appears to be a report by Sport Business, with the headline, INEOS Review of Sports Assets to Continue. The Sport Business article was in the wake of INEOS parting ways with Sir Ben Ainslie, who was astonished to read about the split in the news like everyone else, and has threatened legal action. Interestingly, Mercedes F1 are named in Sir Ben's statement, so some might conclude that the Mercedes-INEOS partnership's future is secure, but that would be premature. There are so many other factors to consider, including the relative size of the America's Cup project to the INEOS stake, so we wait to see how that develops. Curiously, the sport business headline and supporting text do not mention Mercedes F1 directly, and we have been unable to find any direct statement from INEOS about conducting a wide-ranging sports portfolio review as suggested by Sport Business. It therefore appears that something or someone has spooked Planet F1 to report that Mercedes F1 is excluded from a wide-ranging review that has gone or is going beyond the America's Cup. One would ordinarily expect INEOS to keep discussions about selling its Mercedes stake under wraps, or use the cover of reviewing their sports portfolio to sell what appears to them to have peaked. There is nowhere else for the share to go but down, so now would be the perfect time for the only partner who can, to sell. The parent company can't, because it would suggest that they were preparing to leave F1, and Toto can't either, for similar reasons. The only person who can do so under the cover of reviewing his portfolio is Sir Jim. Well, that being the case, why would anyone want to buy? Simple, there's always some private equity fund that has a master plan for turning things around if the price is right. After all, somebody bought Toto's former team Williams when they were in financial difficulties. But, you know what? Ain't nobody buying into Mercedes F1 with Toto as team principal, that's for sure. He would probably be required to sell some of his shares so that the new owner will have a majority interest that exceeds that of Mercedes and Toto combined. Whatever the case, there is something afoot, or there are fertile grounds for suspecting that something could be afoot. Mercedes F1 became vulnerable to such damaging speculation because of Lewis Hamilton's exit. Sponsors come and go for whatever reason, but the GOAT's departure after the car had been poor for 3 seasons created the enabling environment for speculation that others including sponsors and INEOS could be heading out. The irony is that it is the Planet F1 article purportedly in defense of Mercedes that raised the concern that INEOS could be looking to exit, not the Sport Business article that they referenced. Critically, if everything was hunky-dory at Mercedes F1, it wouldn't be a cause for concern that INEOS wanted out. It is only of concern in the current climate where Mercedes are clearly falling behind their competitors. Greg Maffei's head had to roll at Liberty Media to pay for the disastrous strategy to promote the sport by robbing Sir Lewis. Someone's head has to roll at Mercedes F1 as well, for what has happened since December 2021, and it can only be Toto's. Forza Ferrari,